Hey guys, we're going to talk about Thrawn's future, which has been apparently revealed in the latest book, Empire's End by Chuck Wendig. So be careful of spoilers if you have not read this book yet, because we're going to talk about what happens in this book and why I think that Thrawn's future is kind of laid out. So first off, before I talk about Thrawn too much, I have to lay out some of the backstory. Basically, this book takes place, it's all about the Battle of Jakku, 1 year after Return of the Jedi. And you find out that there's a guy named Gallius Rax who is a contingency plan for the Emperor. And he basically has this mystery at Jakku, and he lures the whole Empire there, or he brings the whole Empire there to try to lure the rebellion there, or the New Republic now. And so they have this huge battle. The point is, the Emperor wanted him to blow up the planet, take out all the rest of the Empire, all the rest of the rebellion, and then have them leave. So there's two things to Jakku. Jakku was basically turned into a giant bomb, which ended up never going off. And it was also spent years and years with an observatory there that was doing mapping. It was mapping the outer regions, the unknown regions of the galaxy. Basically, the contingency plan here is related to chess. The Emperor was the king on the chess piece. They actually play this game called Chess, which is blatantly a version of chess. And they relate to it a lot. And the idea was the Emperor knew that he was a chance, albeit slim, that he could be defeated. And if he was defeated, he wanted to wipe the board clean, break the board in half, and go somewhere else. So he wanted to go outside the boundaries of the known galaxy. He wanted to go somewhere completely new, and he didn't want to leave anybody else in charge of his empire. So the idea here is that he needed to get past the unknown regions, and it was hard because there were a lot of dangerous anomalies out of there, black holes, all sort of things. Well, during this discussion of, while they're kind of spelling this out for you, Thrawn is mentioned. He is mentioned as Admiral Thrawn, which is interesting. Now, that could just be a generic term, or that could imply that perhaps he got demoted. Or it could just be that there could only be one Grand Admiral at a time, perhaps in the new canon, and because Ray Sloane had taken the place of Grand Admiral, then maybe Thrawn was no longer a Grand Admiral. That remains to be seen, but they refer to him as Admiral Thrawn, and the reason why the Emperor held him in such esteem, or at least one reason, was because of his knowledge of the unknown regions. Because he came from there, he was very familiar with the unknown regions. And to get to where the Emperor wanted the new empire to go would be to go through the unknown regions. So Thrawn is mentioned in this book. But some other people that are also important in this are Brendel Hux, who is the father of General Hux from the Force Awakens, who we learned his name is Armitage, and so he basically he's there at Jakku. So Brendel Hux and is supposed to be Gallius Rax, who ends up dying from Ray Sloane takes his place, and they all go to aboard the Emperor's yacht, or one of the Emperor's yachts, to go start the First Order. The thing is, they find out when they get there, or they find out ahead of time, that the Super Star Destroyer Eclipse was sent ahead of time, so that they would get there and they would actually have a force in case there was some opposition, or if they just needed, a Super Star Destroyer. So the Super Star Destroyer Eclipse is there waiting for them when they get to these coordinates. And what's really interesting about it is they don't talk about it a whole lot. It was mentioned in Life Debt. The Super Star Destroyer Eclipse had been missing for a long time, and it was assumed that the rebels destroyed it, but nobody knew. And now you're finding out, they sent it ahead of time. And so the Super Star Destroyer Eclipse is past the unknown regions to the new, the designated rendezvous point where they're going to create the First Order. They don't name it the First Order. They just say the New Empire. But, if Hux is involved, it's going to end up being the First Order. The other thing that's, what makes me think that this involves Thrawn is also not present. Thrawn went missing, or they don't say he went missing, but he's not mentioned. He's not mentioned having died. He's not mentioned at all. But he is mentioned as being important in this project because of his familiarity, his unique familiarity with the unknown regions. And if your first ship you're sending through the unknown regions is a Super Star Destroyer, the Emperor's own Super Star Destroyer Eclipse, which is, by the way, a fantastic ship, wouldn't you put somebody who was very familiar and that you could trust in command of that Super Star Destroyer. So that's basically what it seems like. They don't really tell you at the end of the book. They don't go into who's the crew and who's on board the Super Star Destroyer Eclipse. But it definitely seems like it could be Thrawn, and if that's the case, then he would be one of the founding members of the First Order, and that means that not only does he survive Rebels and survive the Galactic Civil War, but that means there's the chance that we'll either see him or see a nod to him in Episode 8 or Episode 9. And wouldn't that be amazing to see an old man Thrawn turn out to be, the biggest bad, somebody who's effectively a Tarkin in, or even an Emperor-like character that's on equal footing or perhaps even superior to Snoke. Wouldn't that be something? Maybe not superior. Maybe he'll be like Snoke is the Emperor and Thrawn is the Tarkin character or something, but that would, I personally would love that. And he may be dead before we see Episode 9. We don't know. But that's where it looks like Thrawn may be. He may have been one of the founding members of the First Order. So that is that's what we got from Empire's End. Do you, if you've read the book already, did you get drawn to a different conclusion? What do you think? Because that's certainly what it looks like for me. That's why I think they mentioned Thrawn, and that's why I think they mentioned the Eclipse, and I think that's where he is. It makes perfect sense to mention that's why Thrawn was brought in, and that's why he rose through the ranks. Or one main reason is that he was familiar specifically with where the Eclipse was going. So let me know what you think, guys. Then thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe and leave a comment. And I do also appreciate all those likes and thumbs up. Thank you so much. Have a great day.